Madam Speaker, Mr. Vice Speaker, colleagues, friends, and guests, it is my distinct honor and privilege to speak to you as the president of our college. Welcome to Washington for the 92nd annual meeting of the ACR. We are still in our nation's capital. As the Council decreed in 2001, most of you will recognize that we're in a new setting, a different hotel, and we are about to experience a new and different meeting format, an all-member meeting. For the first time in our history, we offer concurrent programming and something for everyone. As we embark on this new and potentially value-added meeting, I would like for us to consider how we got to where we are. This past summer, I was invited by my congressman to a screening of Dinesh D'Souza's movie entitled America, Imagine the World Without Her. This movie was only shown in a few theaters for a relatively short time, and you may not have heard of it. If you did see the movie, you may not agree with D'Souza's conservative politics, and you may not agree with his assumptions and conclusions, but you may well agree that he is provocative. He asks us to consider one main scenario. What might have transpired if General George Washington had been killed by a sniper during the Revolutionary War? If the troops had retreated and disengaged, the revolution would have failed and America would never have existed. D'Souza goes on to ask, what if Lincoln had not freed the slaves? What if German scientists like Heisenberg had given Hitler the atomic bomb before it was developed in the US? What would our world look like today? What if the colonies had never become the United States? What if Spain or France or Germany or some other nation took over the land and people that we call America today? I ask you to think for a moment about our unique style of democratic government, our collection of regional dialects, jazz, rock and roll, integration, women's suffrage, a man on the moon, baseball, and American-style football, just to name a few. Imagine for a moment what the world would be like without an America. So borrowing from this theme for the next few minutes, I now invite you to consider along with me the American College of Radiology. Imagine the world without her. This is a fitting topic for several reasons. Firstly, we are entering a new era with a vastly different annual meeting, and our tagline is Crossroads of Radiology. Challenges to our profession, both external and internal, and opportunities as well, have never been greater. Secondly, over the past several years, the Board of Chancellors, with a committee composed of members of the board, the Council Steering Committee, and the ACR staff, with an outside consulting firm, have developed the latest strategic plan for the college. In that process, we were asked to consider what are our core values. Why do we exist? Do we deserve to continue to exist? What changes, if any, should we make? One point was made very clear. The American College of Radiology can do anything, but we can't afford to do everything. As many of you know, the ACR was founded in San Francisco in 1923, and the first meeting was held in Chicago in 1924. 100 individuals were asked to join, all as fellows, with the requirement of 10 years' experience related to the new field and some evidence of significant accomplishment. 21 radiologists, all men, I believe, accepted that invitation to join. An early recorded mission statement for the college went like this: the ACR mission is to serve patients and society by 1, advancing the science of radiology; 2, improving the quality of patient care; 3, positively influencing socioeconomics of the practice of radiology; 4, providing continuing education for radiology and the allied health professions; and 5, conducting research for the future of radiology. As you will hear in detail as this all-member meeting unfolds, the most recent revision of the strategic plan includes a core ideology and purpose, as well as a vision and a vivid description of a desired future. In brief, the core purpose of the college is now to serve patients and society by empowering the members to advance the practice, science, and profession of radiological care. And the ACR vision is now for ACR members to be universally acknowledged as leaders in the delivery and advancement of quality health care. So let me ask you again to consider for a moment the American College of Radiology. Imagine a world without her. What if a streetcar had hit William Conrad Röntgen on November 7th, 1895, the day before his discovery of what he called X-rays? What if Marie Curie had moved at age 21 from Poland to Prague instead of Paris? What if she never discovered radium and polonium and became an artist rather than a scientist? Albert Soylent founded the ACR in 1923. He died of a heart attack while visiting his homeland, Norway, in May of 1946. What if his heart attack had occurred in 1922? What if Godfrey Hounsfield, who worked for EMI, Electrical Musical Industries, had played guitar for the Beatles instead of developing the CAT scanner? Today we have over 50 national imaging societies. Could any one of these alone, or in concert with one another, fill the void? Would any of them or all of them working together have accomplished what the ACR has done and continues to do? I think not. Now, since many people believe that advocacy in economics should be the highest priority of the college, let's recall what arguably may be the most important action ever taken by the college. In the 1960s, when Medicare was being created, the ACR influenced Congress to make radiologists part of Medicare B rather than A. We were to be considered physicians rather than part of hospital services. To a great extent, we owe our thanks to our first lobbyist, former Texas Congressman T.J. Rutherford, to Donald Levanti, the college's principal legislative consultant, as well as to two radiologists from Arkansas, Joe Scruggs Jr. and Joe Calhoun, both of whom happened to know closely then chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Representative Wilbur Mills. What if the ACR didn't exist? We would have been included in Part A, ancillary services provided by the hospital like respiratory therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. We all would be hospital employees. Now that may still happen. I think we're headed in that direction. But that's not the way we have flourished for the past 50 years. In the 1970s, the ACR pushed for separate billing and were successful. Furthermore, most, if not all of you know, the story of how in the 1980s, the college changed history with incredibly hard work by a few visionary leaders, such as Jim Moorfield and Joe Marasco, as well as the rest of the Board of Chancellors and the ACR staff, with the creation of the RVS, the Relative Value System. This action by the ACR under then-President Joe Marasco prevented DRGs, or diagnostic-related groups for physicians. The ACR Government Relations Department and Economics Department are now second to none, thanks to the vision of Dr. Harvey Neiman and the direction of Executive Vice President Cindy Moran, along with a dedicated and talented group of volunteers and staff. Let's think about our National Economic Symposia, our relationship with the RBMA, our annual practice leaders meeting, RADPAC, our political action committee, and marching hundreds of radiologists to Capitol Hill each year. And most recently, the enactment of legislation mandating the use of decision support beginning in 2017. Imagine if the ACR never existed. Now let's look at the area of quality and safety. The ACR first created standards, and then they were renamed practice guidelines and technical standards. Now they are practice parameters in deference to the Institute of Medicine. Accreditation, appropriateness criteria, registries, and now clinical imaging decision support. Who else could create and implement these programs so critical to our profession? Many patients know the name ACR because they know to look to see if their mammogram is being performed at an ACR-accredited facility. Screening and diagnostic mammography and the Mammography Quality Standards Act of 1994 have elevated the level of care greatly for thousands of patients, both with breast cancer, as well as those given assurance that they were likely free of breast cancer. Non-radiologist physicians, other healthcare providers, administrators, payers, they all recognize the ACR name and logo because of the high quality of our practice parameters and technical standards, as well as our accreditation programs are centers of excellence. The Joint Commission and other smaller accrediting bodies do not come close to achieving the level of trust and respect that the ACR enjoys. Now, as a small digression, may I say that the guidelines have been a double-edged sword. Our trial lawyer friends like to use the guidelines against us. That is their prerogative. But that does not diminish the value of our quality and safety programs. More recently, we have extended our reach and have begun to work with international bodies on issues of radiation safety, dose reduction, as well as utilization management. ACR was involved in the founding of Image Gently and Image Wisely. We currently work with the European Society of Radiology, the World Health Organization, and the International Atomic Energy Commission. Many others bring our efforts and accomplishments to other parts of the world. Who else could or would do this? Imagine a world without the ACR. Education was included in the earliest vision of ACR, as I mentioned in the mission statement, and it remains a very important part of our program. My first exposure to the college as a resident was through professional self-evaluation syllabi. Now the education portfolio of the ACR is broad and deep, including online learning, self-assessments such as continuous professional improvement, publications such as the 5th edition of the BIRADS Atlas, educational CD-ROMs and DVDs, case studies, learning files, case in point, courses at the Education Center, courses at the AIRP, and there's much more. The National Conference on Breast Cancer, the Radiology Leadership Institute, annual meetings that we hold on economics and informatics, the Practice Leaders Meeting, and the Radiology Business Managers Association, and the Global Summit on Quality and Safety. There's still more, including in-service exams, Diagnostic and Training Exam, DIXIT, and the in-training examination for radiation oncology residents, TICSIT. Time does not permit me to discuss any of these educational offerings in detail. But for just a moment, let me consider a few of these programs briefly. First, the AFIP, the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology. This educational gem can be traced back to 1862, when the Army Medical Museum was established at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. That's right, that's the same Ford's Theater that you know about. It was intended to collect pathological specimens and case histories from the Civil War. After a few years, it moved to the National Mall, and in 1949, it was named the Armed Forces Institute for Pathology. Beginning in 1966, the AFIP offered a radiology pathology correlation course for radiology residents, and more than 90% of all U.S. radiologists in training attended it. It became a great experience and of significant value. In 1969, the AFIP was moved to Walter Reed Medical Center in Bethesda, and everything was going well until 2005, when the base realignment and closure proposal of the federal government planned for the closure of Walter Reed Medical Center and the disestablishment of the AFIP. As many of you know, the ACR recognized the imminent loss of a unique and cherished entity, and Harvey Neiman and staff creatively transitioned the education program from the AFIP into the ACR's AIRP. It was renamed the American Institute for Radiologic Pathology, and the faculty and curriculum were largely preserved. Opened in Silver Spring, Maryland in January of 2011, this course is now enjoyed by over 98% of all radiology residents in the U.S., and hundreds of international trainees attend each year as well. Let's consider for a moment the ACR Education Center in Reston, which offers a facility and faculty and teaching format like none other. To date, over 7,000 radiologists have experienced the most efficient, realistic, and effective learning environment in all of radiology. And let's consider the Radiology Leadership Institute, which in just over 2 years has become an unparalleled success and a fabulous resource for our professional development in areas such as business and leadership. More than 1,700 radiologists have enrolled in the RLI, several have received certificates of proficiency in leadership, and a few have enrolled in affiliated MBA programs. Imagine a radiology training world without the ACR. And let me remind you of the creation and implementation of the Journal of the American College of Radiology, the JACR. Just over 10 years ago, the ACR recognized that there was an area not fully covered by the other prestigious journals, such as the Gray Journal of Radiology and the Yellow Journal, the American Journal of Röntgenology. JACR would focus on practice management and unique challenges and opportunities for our profession. The journal is now the most widely read imaging-related publication in the world. I'll mention just a few more ACR programs which are distinctive and help move our profession forward. The ACR Forum annually brings together about 25 radiologists and other non-radiologist physicians, as well as laypersons. They meet for several days to discuss subjects of importance to our profession, and then make recommendations to the ACR Board of Chancellors. In addition, the Inter-Society Summer Conference brings together leaders and staff. Over 50 domestic imaging societies participate, and again, they meet and brainstorm for several days each year on topics of importance to our specialty and to medicine in general. And I would be remiss if I failed to mention the Harvey Neiman Health Policy Institute, established in 2012, to perform and promote research and develop publications related to the practice of radiology. And there's ACR, the American College of Radiology Imaging Network, with its multi-center trials such as diagnostic mammography imaging screening trial and the lung cancer screening trial, just to name a few. These have changed healthcare and how radiology is practiced throughout the world. And RTOG, the Radiation Therapy Oncology Group, and other research efforts coordinated at our Philadelphia office have made critical contributions to the practice of radiation oncology and diagnostic imaging. What things make the ACR unique? Fellowship, for one. Many of you in this audience this morning may be fellows of the college already, and others will become fellows this evening during the convocation. If you have never seen this ceremony, I strongly recommend that you attend. Put it on your to-do list. This is the highest honor awarded to less than 10% of all members. FACR on the end of your name signifies that you have made significant contributions to our profession over an extended period of time. Another unique aspect of the ACR that distinguishes it from other imaging societies is our elected democratic council. You may be a counselor or an alternate and may be conducting business this afternoon helping to create ACR policy. If you're not a member of the council, I invite you to sit in, listen to the council sessions that will be held during ACR 2015. And a third attribute of the ACR is that we are one of a very small number of societies that brings together diagnostic radiologists, radiation oncologists, and medical physicists. ACR also sends a delegation each year to the AMA meeting and coordinates our efforts and advocates for our issues with other subspecialty imaging-related societies and with the House of Medicine in general. And last but not least is the Commission for Women and Diversity. This was created as a result of a request by the AAWR, that's the American Association for Women Radiologists. They wanted to have better management of their society, and they wanted to be more involved with the ACR. The charge of the commission was broadened to include not only women, but also more general diversity in areas such as race, ethnicity, age, and sexual orientation. This Commission on Diversity has the potential to change the face of radiology and the profession of radiology more than any other force. In the corporate world, diversity has been shown to be extremely beneficial to morale and profitability. And there's no reason to think that even greater gains might not be achieved over time by diversity in radiology and in the larger medical community. We have an opportunity to set new standards, to be the leader in this area. Would this have come about if the ACR never existed? But wait a minute. Radiology does exist, and the American College of Radiology does exist. We do not have to imagine the world without radiology and without the ACR. So let's instead imagine a world with the ACR, but a better world. Imagine an imaging world in which patients come first without exception. Imagine an imaging world in which all radiological professionals were members of the ACR and actively engaged. I ask each of you to perform a bit of self-reflection for a moment while you are here and again when you return to your practice or your academic institution. Ask yourself this: am I doing all that I can to live and work by the principles of Imaging 3.0? As an individual and as a group or department, do I and do we attempt to do much more than be film readers? Radiology is a profession, not a business. The practice of radiology is an art, not a trade. Do not focus on RVUs, which were developed to promote fair and equal payments. They were not intended to measure productivity of individuals. Instead, focus on patients and good outcomes. Thank you. Remember, the term doctor is derived from the Latin docere, D-O-C-E-R-E, which means to teach. Cicero first introduced this term in 55 BC, and he suggested 3 duties or goals of rhetoric: to teach, delight, and move. So I encourage you to talk to your patients whenever possible, before and after their exams. Explain what you are doing to them and for them, and explain why you're doing it. Tell them the results of imaging studies when appropriate in easily understood language, and speak with your referring doctors. Answer their questions in your reports, on the phone, and in person. Be an imaging specialist consultant. Now I'd like to address the practicing physicians and other healthcare providers in the audience. Choosing healthcare as your life's work is a noble decision. You place yourself in the service of others, knowing that while your best professional efforts cannot always result in healing, your head, your heart, and your hands will still provide some comfort to those that you are privileged to serve. The radiological professions, including diagnostic radiology, radiation oncology, medical physics, and interventional radiology, are at the center of the medical universe. Imaging and image-guided therapy are essential and play a role in every medical specialty. In many specialties, such as surgery and internal medicine, our role is huge. In others, such as dermatology, we play a smaller role. But we are the lucky ones, you and I. We have been able to be part of this discovery and growth since 1895. At RSNA 2014, I spoke to the residents very briefly at a reception for them. I want to repeat quickly what I said at that time. I had 3 things to say to those residents on that day. Those 3 things were: congratulations, don't worry, and keep learning. Firstly, congratulations on choosing the profession of medicine, and even greater congratulations on using such good judgment to choose radiology as your specialty. You are among the brightest and the best. You will soon see that the radiological professions are at or near the top of the list of exciting, dynamic, and important members of the House of Medicine. Secondly, don't worry. For about 80 years now, since the mid-1930s, probably every radiologist in training has experienced some anxiety just like you're feeling today. Every one of us at one time or another has asked ourselves 2 questions. Will I pass the board exam? And will I find a job? Today the questions are reversed. In some cases it's, will I find a job and then will I pass the boards? The answers are the same. The answers to both are yes, you will pass the boards, and yes, you will find a job. Of course, there are a few exceptions, but those exceptions are not sitting in this room today. We all know that this is a difficult time to find a job, but the pendulum swings up and down. It's a curve. On a personal note, I'm in a large private practice in Fort Worth and Dallas. We are hiring 13 new radiologists this year. And a recent ACR survey shows improvement in the job market. We expect greater opportunities in 2014 over 2013, which has come to pass, and 2015 is expected to be better than 2014. Now, thirdly, I mentioned keep learning. When you signed up for a career in medicine and in radiology, part of the deal was lifelong learning. plan on attending the RSNA meeting every year for the next 30 or 40 years, or at least every few years. The scientific presentations, refresher courses, and vendor exhibits are going to keep you energized, amazed, and up to date. And in addition, plan to attend this ACR annual meeting every spring. You can get additional education in areas such as leadership, quality and safety, healthcare policy. You can also play a role in the council and create new practice parameters and appropriateness criteria. You can be an advocate for your profession by visiting Congress and taking our message to the legislature. Now I'd like to express my deepest thanks and gratitude to my wife of 42 years, Mackie, to our children, Jeff and Mark, our grandchildren, Molly and Sam, and our daughter-in-law, Kara. All of them are here today in the second row. Thank you. I thank them for their love and support during my time with the college. I'd also like to thank all of the members of the Council Steering Committee and Board of Chancellors and the ACR staff with whom I've had the privilege to work. In particular, I owe a large debt of gratitude to those leaders of the college who directly preceded me and who will directly follow me. I thank especially Drs. Jim Thrall, John Patty, Bib Allen, and Jim Brink. In addition, I would be remiss if I did not single out the late Dr. Harvey Neiman, who was such an important mentor and friend to me. I've been involved actively with the college for over 22 years and have served on the Board of Chancellors for 14 years. I've held almost every elected office of the college. It has certainly been exciting, rewarding, and deeply fulfilling, also demanding. It has been without question the best time of my professional life. Now, one final closing remark. I offer this as an inspirational challenge to the current members and staff of the college. Archimedes is credited for the following. He said, if we were given a long enough lever and a place to stand, we could change the world. Well, you and I have a place to stand. It is the American College of Radiology. Thank you for your attention. Have a great meeting.